by their personal laws. While Hindu personal laws were codified, Muslims living in Kashmir were once exempted from oversight of central institutions thanks to Article 370. Laws and policies have been framed much like the Waqf Act of 1995 that have accorded preferential treatment to Muslims, all for vote bank considerations. Now, at least as far as the Waqf Act goes, that will change as soon as tomorrow. The NDA, viewers, will not just introduce but also look to pass the much debated, contentious Waqf Amendment Bill in the Lok Sabha. A massive exercise in consulting stakeholders has led to support from unexpected quarters in civil society for the proposed amendment bill. Several Muslim sects have extended their support. The Bohras, the Aga Khanis, Sufis, Pasmandas, the largest Christian denominations in Kerala have also welcomed the amendment bill. And most importantly, viewers, even political parties that have substantial Muslim vote banks like the JDS, JDU, LJP, RJD, TDP have given a thumbs up to the bill that will transform Muslim lives by streamlining the working of Waqf boards so that they can generate up to an estimated rupees 20,000 crores from properties under their care to finance schemes for Muslim uplift. The widespread support of certain parties means that the NDA will have the numbers in the House to push through the legislation. As of now, viewers, you need 272. That's the halfway mark. The NDA, because of the support of these secular parties, have 293. The India bloc is at 250. Viewers, even in the Rajya Sabha, there is a slim lead for the NDA. They will have the numbers if things hold. But while several parties have thrown their weight behind the bill, the India bloc and the Owaisi-led sectarian party, the MIM, are on the warpath. Jairam Ramesh of the Congress, he says Waqf Amendment Bill is a direct attack on the Constitution and against its foundation. It has been bulldozed through the JPC. If they implement it, we will oppose it democratically, unquote. Akhilesh Yadav, Member of Parliament and Samajwadi Party Supremo, says we're against the Waqf Board bill because the BJP wants to interfere in everything. They want to control everywhere. Tejasvi Yadav, RJD, he's come out and said BJP wants to impose Nagpur Ka Kanun, the law as prevalent and dictated by Nagpur, which is a reference, viewers, to the RSS headquarters. Asaduddin Owaisi, AIMIM MP, says, and I quote, this bill is unconstitutional. This bill is a grave violation of Article 14, 25, 26 and 29. This is not a Waqf bill, rather it's a Waqf Barbad bill, unquote. They will vote against the Waqf Amendment Bill tomorrow and then challenge it on the streets and in the courts. But this is only to be expected. Their opposition has little to do with protecting Muslim interests, viewers. They're concerned with Muslim votes. I'm not saying this. The Satchar committee said that. More about that later. And for this reason, elements in the opposition have always been for enabling a special status for Muslims. Here are the hard facts, viewers. The Waqf Act 1995 has significant autonomy and control compared to Hindu board trusts. Now, viewers, the last I checked, we were in a secular democracy. How is it that one particular faith has laws that are built around the faith? Laws allow Waqf to grab land, and Waqf tribunal rulings cannot be challenged in civil courts ordinarily. These parties back Muslim Personal Law Application Act of 1937, allowing Muslim choice to be governed by Sharia, unlike Hindus who follow civil code. They oppose the UCC. Yes, viewers, they oppose the UCC because they say this is a conformity, we are for diversity. But then, viewers, in stark contrast, they also oppose the CAA, saying that that is, viewers, very simply, not for diversity. Like polygamy, viewers, these outright practices under the UCC come alive. Child marriage, unequal inheritance laws. All of this has been done, viewers, under the architecture of the Constitution. How does it sit with the defining features? I don't know. Laws have been passed granting reservations to Muslim community under OBC category. They back Places of Worship Act of 1991 that forbids any move to reclaim Hindu places of worship. A whole community, many more, Sikhs and others, can't even approach court for remedy. Viewers, that is a complete violation of fundamental rights. They back arbitrary occupation of public spaces for Muslims for offering namaz, utilizing government taxpayer funds to grant Hajj subsidy to Muslims till SC struck down the preferential SOP. The Waqf Act in present state is an anathema to constitutionalism. It is a draconian provision that allows Waqf boards to take over land at a whim. The boards, as pointed out, have the powers to enforce decisions they take, virtually ruling out the possibility of redressal in higher courts. This has meant that over time, Waqf has become the third largest landholder in this country as it has acquired control over lands arbitrarily. But this has not benefited the poorer Muslims, viewers. And this is the supreme irony. The people who run the Waqfs are the rich, influential class of the Muslims. And viewers, they are in control of these properties. And therefore, for this favor that has been done to them, they remain indebted to these so-called secular parties for the favor shown to them and help during elections to canvass votes for their political benefactors. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. This ensures a cozy relationship which unfortunately has a negative impact not only on ordinary Muslims but also on followers of other religions in society. In 2015, for example, in Jalandhar, Waqf Board successfully takes possession of Gurdwara land. In 2014, Saharanpur, Waqf claimed land belonging to Sri Guru Singh Sabha Gurdwara led to lot of tension. 2024 in Devas, Madhya Pradesh, Waqf Board claimed ownership of Christian burial ground. In 2025, in Munambam, Kerala, Waqf Board claims 404 acres of land belonging to Christian and Hindu families. The irony is that the Congress-led India bloc is opposing a reform that had been suggested by someone the party had itself appointed to shine a light on how to better Muslim lives. The NDA insists that it has adopted the recommendations of the UPA appointed Sachar committee to draft the Waqf Amendment Bill. What did that say, viewers? It says that the inclusion of women in Central Waqf Council is a must. Representation of marginalized Muslim groups such as Bora and Aga Khani communities is a must. Greater transparency by involving non-Muslim experts in Waqf Board management is a must. Mandatory audits of Waqf properties by the Controller and Auditor General is a must. Computerized records of Waqf lands at the district level to prevent encroachments. Strengthens legal recourse by expanding the Waqf tribunals to 2 members with appeals allowed in the High Court within 90 days. If this is true, then clearly in opposing Triple Talaq, UCC and now the Waqf Amendment Bill, the India bloc is proving that it has always backed special status for Muslims in this country out of vote bank considerations. Viewers, let's open this up. Let's open this up. Let's ask some very honest and straightforward questions. How can there be a religious law in a secular state? I want to go straight across to the spokespersons of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Let's bring them up on stage. There we are, viewers. Zakia Soman, activist; Vivek Silas, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party; Syam Prasad Meka, leader of the Congress. Mr. Meka, let me begin with you tonight. How can there be preferential treatment for one community over all others? How can there be a religiously ordained law in a secular democracy such as ours, Mr. Meka?
First of all, your question is loaded and it comes with preconceived notions. So it's not about preferential notions or anything. Who is getting special preference? Where is the question of it? Who will say somebody need to get a preferential treatment? Who will say? Nobody will say. The question is, we are a complex society. We are working out on building the nation, and that's about it. And you come out and say, oh, why should somebody get a preferential treatment? Mr. Meka, you answer on behalf of Congress. But what will I answer? Should I say, oh yes, people need to get preferential treatment? Am I going to say that? Is any party going to say that? No.
It's a strange sort of response that you're giving me. I'm very confused. What are you saying, Mr. Syam Prasad Meka? Are you saying that they're not going to say it, but they're actually doing it? It's an underhand activity? I don't think you've come very researched. Can I ask you a couple of questions then on the back of this? How is it that, sir, because of the Waqf Act, Muslims have entire control over their lands, but there is an act, the CRNCE Act, that denies Hindus any control over theirs. What would you call this?
Okay. Let me tell you. First of all, why are you making it a Hindu versus Muslim debate? See, if you don't agree with a law,
sir, I'm not making it.
You argue for it.
Hang on.
No.
Okay, 1 second. I'm making this about Muslims versus Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, several other denominations, Aga Khanis. I'm making it all about that. And I'm not saying it tonight, viewers. It is Muslim community leaders who are saying it themselves, and that is the irony. And Mr. Meka and his Congress brothers are not listening, and his Congress sisters are absent. In fact, one Congress sister comes from Kerala. She's a member of parliament from Kerala. And the church there, viewers, is saying that please strike down this anathema, this constitutional anathema. And Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is looking the other way. Why is the church saying it? Because Christians feel aggrieved because of the scope that has been given to the Waqf board, the board instituted on the back of religion. And let me not only say it, I want to bring in Zakia Soman, I want to bring in Dr. Ranganathan. I don't want to make this immediately political. I want the facts out there so viewers understand. Zakia Soman, we have a situation tonight where the Waqf become laws unto themselves. They are empowered pretty much to do this. They have kept women out. They have kept other communities out, sects within Muslim community out. It has become a corrupt body.
Thanks for having me, Rahul. So some of the facts need to be placed here on board. Waqf is meant to be for the well-being of community. It can be, Waqf properties can be utilized as schools, as hospitals, as mosques, as qabristan, and so on. It is a fact that a lot of Waqf properties today are highly mismanaged. They are encroached upon. There are all kinds of practices and malpractices. There is a lot of opaqueness. There is no accountability. And in several places, the Waqf boards are defunct. There are some exceptions, some of the Waqf boards which are doing really well. So that is the one reality we need to accept. But at the same time, we also need to look at the fact that there is a whole lot of polarization today in our country. So any reform that is being brought in by the government needs to build a climate through consultation. The government needs to get everybody on board. There has to be a consensus building. There has to be a participation of all the stakeholders. There has been a huge demand by people not affiliated with any political party that there should be a countrywide survey of how many Waqf properties actually exist. You know, nobody knows exactly what is the size of land which comes under Waqf, because it has been encroached upon for years and years and perhaps decades. They have become somebody's property, you know, some private individual's property. There is also a demand that all the land records pertaining to Waqf should be digitized. There are PILs in the Supreme Court by concerned citizens, Muslim citizens, this whole system needs to be overhauled. And the proposed bill, which is being brought up, which is currently being considered by the JPC and perhaps is going to be tabled tomorrow in Parliament, we also need to look at what are the kind of clauses in that bill which will address the situation on the ground. And just by making the collector, you know, a government functionary, the sole arbiter, you know, who will be making decisions, it's not going to in itself resolve matters. So I think this whole question of Waqf properties, it calls for a reform. There is no doubt about that. It calls for an overhaul. But I think the process needs to be more humane. There needs to be more emphasis on consensus building and on trust building, because See, there is a polarization
So you're
and
saying,
there is a perception.
so you're saying, fine, fair enough. I understand what you're saying. You said there should be more consensus. Viewers, we've had 1 year now of consultations, and certain very, very secular entities that depend on Muslims for votes have come out in support of this bill. And the small group, Dr. Ranganathan, that seems to be holding out are the usual suspects. They are the ones who, forgive me for saying this, are duplicitous. Am I right or am I wrong?
Good evening. Of course, you're right, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, I think the only thing more ridiculous than the fact that the Waqf bill is going to be tabled inside a parliament building that is adjudged by Waqf to be on its land is the fact that a 1500-year-old Hindu temple in Tamil Nadu has been adjudged by Waqf to be on Islamic land when Islam is only 1300 years old. But then we are way past ridiculous now. The BJP, has to be said, has neatly fallen into the trap of trying to convince people that Waqf bill is not against Muslims. Arey bhai, when the issue is that the Waqf bill is against non-Muslims. But then we are way past, as I said, ridiculous, Rahul, and deep into the sublime. Because we are supposed to be living in a fascist Hindu Rashtra. Indeed, a Hindu Rashtra where 500,000 Hindus are forced to be refugees in their own land, where Hindu temples are exclusively controlled by the state, where Right to Education Act discriminates only against Hindus, where those who perpetrated Hindu genocides are celebrated, where the constitution enacts code bills to reform only Hinduism, where a law was about to be enacted where only the Hindus would have been held guilty in a communal riot, where an act continues to deny the Hindus their legitimate right to reclaim thousands of demolished temples. If this is a Hindu Rashtra, honestly, I'd much rather be in a Muslim Rashtra, because then at least there'll be no pretense of equality. A kafir will get what he deserves. Vive la Sharia. Look, I as a Hindu, I'm being very honest out here. I'm resigned to this discrimination continuing, because the blowback from the Islamists is such that this government is perennially guilt-tripped into believing that Muslims and not Hindus are being shortchanged. Therefore, the only other recourse is for me to ask such discriminatory acts being promulgated for Hindus as well. If you can't remove discrimination against Hindus, reward them with it. To start with, in the form of a Sanatan Act, the exact clause for clause replica of the Waqf Act. Rahul, I have absolutely nothing against the Waqf board. Why should anyone? Countless boards, charities, NGOs exist. The problem is the Waqf Act. Because the world over, disputes over property are settled using courts and existing laws that are community and religion agnostic. Why should a particular religious community, the Muslim community, be armed with another set of laws, those that are patently discriminatory towards member of the other community as a primary instrument of defense or indeed offense? Is there a Hindu equivalent of the Waqf Act? Promulgate one in the interest of equality. Let those who want continuation of the Waqf Act watch as Hindus then lay claim to thousands of mosques and Muslim villages and enjoy the privilege of disputes being addressed primarily not through the courts but via the clauses and strictures of the Hindu equivalent of the Waqf Act. Because the fact is, every mosque in India is built on Sanatan land, including Jama Masjid. So tomorrow, if a Hindu board armed through the Waqf equivalent Sanatan Act claims Jama Masjid, how would Muslims feel if they have to first plead their case in front of a Sanatan tribunal rather than approach a court? Maza aayega? Look, just 30 seconds. Amending the Waqf Act is akin to chopping the head of a hydra, because while you might have removed a few discriminatory and draconian clauses from the Act, a vast majority of them remain untouched. Section 28, 8, 101, 54 to name a few. For example, Section 8 says the state has to pay for the Waqf survey. This is in direct violation of Article 27 of our Constitution that says no person shall be compelled to pay any taxes, the proceeds of which specifically appropriated in payment of expenses for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion. Now Waqf lays claim to 870,000 properties. Their survey is being paid by us, the taxpayer. Why? Rahul, Waqf tribunal decisions can only be, as you said, overturned by a long and financially draining legal process. They know this. Fact is, Waqf is a parallel government being run by the state. In its board, it has its own legislature. In its surveyor, its own executive. And in its tribunal, it has its own judiciary. Waqf Act doesn't just appease Muslims. The problem is it discriminates against non-Muslims.
So, Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly, is there any equivalent of this with regards to any other faith in this country?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. That's the simple answer, viewers. And therefore, Mr. Silas, I want to ask you a simple question. You will be voting tomorrow. If your arguments have force, there will be an 8-hour discussion, I'm told, on this. If your arguments have force, you will be able to convince a large number of parliamentarians to stand with you. If they are built on duplicity, hypocrisy, you will only be able to preach to the converted. Your test is tomorrow. And I have to ask you a simple question. You will be judged on a simple answer. Can there be a religiously ordained bill? Forget about whether it's good, bad, ugly, whether Mr. Ranganathan points to section 28, section 8, whether it has deficiency or not. It's a basic question. In a secular country, can there be a bill that is religiously ordained? Sir, simple question to you, Mr. Silas. It's a basic constitutional question.
As far as the bill is concerned, Mr. Rahul Shivshankar, I think the bigger question tonight is that whether the allies of the NDA are on board with the Bharatiya Janata Party.
They are on board, sir. They've issued the whips. They are in public domain. Please check your.
Yes. They have issued the whip.
Yeah,
but
so
if you see the statement of
the statements are very clear. So please let's not play these politics.
Okay.
The point is, address the question I'm asking you. Forget them. They will be punished as you have threatened them. You have said that people will punish you for your sins of omission and commission. Right? That's what you have said about the TDP. You said about the JDU, JDS, etc. Let them face the wrath of the public if need be. Why are you concerned about them? I'm asking you a specific question. In which country in the world which calls itself a secular democracy can you have laws that are religiously ordained? Can you answer this question?
If there are any flaws in the
There's not flaws.
in the Waqf.
No, I'm not even going there. I'm asking you, sir, on a matter of principle, can there be yes or no? Simple question.
It could be either ways, Let the bill come tomorrow. Let's see what the bill says. Actually, even you and I, we and the panelists don't know what's there in the bill.
The bill has also been circulated.
It
has to be discussed. But the point is,
Rahulji, it has to be discussed in the parliament first.
So 1 second. It's been widely reported in all the newspapers, etc. Anyhow, just 1 minute. I want to ask you a question. Forget what the letter of the law is, the amendments that are being brought in. Can there be a bill or a law standing on the books right now which draws its inspiration from a religious edict? Simple question in a secular democracy. Why is it so difficult to answer this question?
No, it's not very difficult. I think the parliament tomorrow will decide whether it was right or it was wrong.
So Parliament's writ will prevail.
Obviously.
But I won't take a position tonight, says the Samajwadi Party. Let Parliament decide, and then we will of course go to the streets. We will work up all the Muslims. We'll have Shaheen Bagh number 3, number 4, number 5, number 25, number 125, 2025 all over the country, and we will oppose it on the streets.
You are exaggerating
I'm asking you. So answer my question on principle. I'm asking you a very direct and honest question, sir. You are a constitutionalist. You and your party swear by the Constitution. You stand next to Rahul Gandhi, who holds up the Constitution. He is the leader of the opposition. He sources his inspiration from the Constitution. Where in the Constitution does it say that you can have bills that favor one community over all others? Point that line out to me.
It was the same thing when the farm laws were there,
That's not about religion. Farmers are religion.
Exactly the same
religion.
Where the Bharatiya Janata Party said the farm laws will be in the favor of the farmers of the country. And eventually what happened? The Modi ji had to come and say sorry and take back.
No, that's an immaterial issue.
No, he had to say sorry and take back the bill.
Yeah, okay. So tomorrow
let the House decide.
No, 1 second.
Rahul ji, let the House decide.
The streets, if they do what you're threatening that they should be doing, which is to have Shaheen Bagh or farmer-like agitations all across, that's a different matter. That's a law and order problem. I'm asking you a basic question. Why can't you answer this question? Let me forget the farm laws, forget the Waqf. I'm asking you a general knowledge question. Does the Constitution of India have any clause that says that it is acceptable to have religious laws that favor one community, one religion over others? Yes or no?
I don't think. No.
You don't think, or you don't know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. It could be, it could not be. I know. I'm not a person who has read the Constitution step by step.
No, Mr. Meka, can you answer this question?
Does
the Constitution say anywhere that we can make laws that favor one community, one religion over others?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. That's why the Supreme Court viewers strikes down. quotas on religious grounds. That's why it had a problem with Hajj subsidies. That is why it has had a problem with several other things. Of course, viewers, the gaze of the Supreme Court is also slightly jaundiced, but I'm not going to go there. The fact of the matter, Nalin Kohli, is this. Your government is being accused of three things tonight. One, not having an extensive conversation with stakeholders and doing things in a manner that are pushing a particular interest aimed at disenfranchising Muslims from their own properties, number one. Number two, Mr. Kohli, the second charge that is being made against you is that you are doing this to polarize. I think someone made that statement. These are very polarized times. I think it was Zakia Suman who made that statement. And someone else said, we don't know if the Constitution, we're not aware if the Constitution actually privileges one community over others. These are three questions that you need to answer, Mr. Kohli.
This may take a few minutes because they are three separate issues. First, on your question that consultation on Uniform Civil Code, even prior to 1955, for over 17 years that consultation process seems to be happening, which is in the teeth of Article 44 of the Constitution, which says that the state shall endeavor to have a uniform civil code. Now, people may argue that Article 44 is part of the directives, principles of state policy and not a fundamental right, but it nevertheless is part of the original Constitution, which every Indian accepted in 1950. So that consultation is on. So I think the question is not about consultation. The question is about how much consultation. Because the movement or the idea to have an amendment to the Waqf Act has been at least in existence for at least 1 year that I am aware of, and perhaps even earlier. And it has involved consultation, but if certain political parties believe that consultation is a polite word to actually say we will not accept it and keep on consulting so that it never happens, that perhaps is extending that word too far. That's point one. Point two is about, can there be a law in terms of religion? So I think the Constitution again has to be seen, because everything has to be only as per the Constitution of India. And that's what happens if something is ultra-vires the Constitution, the courts will strike it down. So in the chapter of fundamental rights, there are some special protections for minorities. Article 25, 26, 29. Article 26 specifically deals also with the minorities having rights to property and administer it. Now, certainly, Article 14 about treating Indian citizens equally without any discrimination on the basis of religion, race, gender, whatever, exists. But within the chapter 3, part 3 of the Constitution, you also have Article 26. So I would see this falling under the scope of Article 26. Which brings us to the next question. What is it that the amendment is really seeking to achieve? And Zakia ji pointed out that there were some problems. She has a problem with, in terms of the administration of the Waqf boards, etc., and some other issues that exist. But on the other hand, she believes that consultation is less. Now, that's a point of view. Let's come to the Act itself. Essentially, what we have today is a situation, as of course, in a rather emotional manner, Anand Ranganathan made an important point that you have a 100-year-old temple being claimed as Waqf land, or in Karnataka, several thousand acres of farmers' land being claimed as Waqf land, or in, say, Kerala, land of Christians and Hindus in a particular area being claimed as Waqf land. Now, the point that here is that while the idea of Waqf is to administer for a pious reason or towards the larger community, which is the Muslim community, and ensure that that income goes to it, this claim of lands becomes a serious issue, and it comes from the 2013 Act, which was passed in rather a hurry by the erstwhile Congress UPA government, where under Section 40, any land they could claim, or any person could give land to the Waqf without even being a Muslim. So there are certain nuances that are being corrected, which means if you are a Muslim, at least for 5 years a practicing Muslim, you may donate your land to the Waqf board. But if you're not a Muslim, then the question arises, why are you donating it? Say to the Waqf, is it a free donation in terms of any undue pressure or something else? And why the need? Because after all, this is basically based on a religious objective.
Yeah.
The second part being, you can't claim any land. 3, if representation is to be there, why exclude Muslim women? 4, how do we deal with the records of the Waqf lands or the claimed lands, including the lands on dispute? And I have something to say on that after this. So, for example, if you know your land, you should be able to, in a certain timeline, assuming it to be 6 months, as the bill is saying, subject to what Parliament decides, be able to say, this is my land, let's go and do it. If Rahul, you, me or any other citizen buys land, it is registered and it will go in the record of land records, so that you identify the land as being linked to a certain individual. The same would hold true for the Waqf lands, and the Limitation Act is being brought in. You and I cannot go beyond the Limitation Act. No citizen can. Normally it's 3 years, extends to in certain cases to a maximum of 20 years. But you can't have a situation where after 100 years or 50 years, somebody turns around and says, no, this is my land, without any basis. So these are some of the principles. Now, Anand had made a point which I wanted to respond to. Was it on a dispute? It's just slipped my mind. Perhaps it comes. I'll respond to it, because he had made a valid point.
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan wanted to come in, and then I want to bring in Mr. Meka. Yes.
Now, very eloquent as usual intervention by Kohli ji. I just want to say that my small disagreement with him is that I have no problem in anyone claiming any land. No problem. Tomorrow, for example, I can claim, or if I have a board, claim Jama Masjid. What happens? The people of Jama Masjid will approach the court. The problem here is, when Waqf board claims any land, the people who are aggrieved have to not approach the court but approach the tribunal. That is the issue. An extrajudicial authority has been set up. A parallel government has been set up. As I said, I have absolutely no issues with board, NGO, anybody claiming anything. The problem is, in the interest of equality, every Indian citizen must be able to approach only the courts.
So, Zakir Soman, that's the point. And I want you to answer this.
I remember the point, if you'll permit me.
Yes, okay. Very quickly, Mr. Kohli, and then I want to bring in Zakir Soman.
Yes, the question had come on land.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the question had come on land. Again, we should pause for a minute. Ultimately, land belongs to the state. Ultimately, and I'm using my words very carefully, because you have, for example, land is owned by an individual. When that individual dies, it goes to the successors, inheritors, as per certain acts. Under Islam it's separate, Hindu it's separate. But eventually, if there's no successor, it vests back into the state. So therefore, ultimately, land will go back to the state if there is no ownership at an individual basis. The second point is, on which there is some criticism by certain political parties, why do you bring in the collector? The collector or the district magistrate is the secular representative of a government.
That is the point I wanted to bring up with Zakir Soman. That you cannot have.
That is the critical point.
That is it. And Zakir Soman, you found that problematic. You found that problematic. Why would you find that problematic? I can't understand.
See, because the context is important.
What is the context?
The context is that Muslims are the largest minority. The fact is that they are also socially, economically.
Hang on. Just a minute.
And
what is the context? The narrow context is, why should there be a religiously ordained individual sitting in judgment of cases in a secular democracy?
I do not think it is religiously ordained. It is, the Waqf Act, which is right now in effect, right? It's the Waqf Act. It is not religiously ordained. The only part which is religiously ordained is the donation or the charities that people are giving.
Why? Why should there be an enabling feature? No. And you know what it says, viewers? Once a Waqf, always a Waqf. Yes. Where is that coming from? Where does that come from? And viewers, can you believe it? This is the emblem on a website that comes under the aegis of the Ministry of Minority Affairs.
but it is a statement made by Justice, I am sorry to say, Justice Anand of the Supreme Court, who said once a waqf, always a waqf.
Yeah. Once a waqf.
But that's a very limited.
But
kind
I'm
of
sorry.
thing.
That is the
No,
point
there are
that
so
these
many
people are
issues here.
constantly. No, I'm sorry, Ms. Zakia Soman. Let's not monkey balance tonight. I'm sorry. I'm using a slightly loose phrase.
But this
No,
once
please.
a waqf,
Either we be
always
sure.
a
No,
waqf
either we be
applies
sure that we are
to the
living in a
intent
democracy
behind the
which is
donation. It
based on
applies to the
secular
charity
principles.
made by a person for
Ma'am,
waqf. So that
how
remains.
are you telling me that a collector is less qualified to look at even legalese?
See, but we cannot in a blanket way. We cannot
No, ma'am,
say
do you
that
support?
giving
Let me
that
ask you. Do
responsibility
you
to the
support?
collector
Do you
is
support?
going to take care of
Do you
all
support the triple talaq law?
Of course, I support.
Why do you support it, ma'am?
I support
because
it
viewers,
for the-
it takes you away
it's very well
from
known
the
why we
jurisdiction.
support it.
I'll tell you why. Because,
Yes.
ma'am, you did it and we were on the debates together because you did not want the patriarchy associated with the religiously ordained edicts of certain individuals who proclaim themselves to be the religious heads of a community to dictate terms to the women of that community.
Yes.
That's why. So simply the same principle
I want to
applies
make a
here.
point
No,
when
one
it's
second,
possible.
But here-
one second. Mr. Meka, let me, okay, Dr. Ranganathan, finish your point and I want to bring in Mr. Meka on this. It's a very critical point, viewers. Here we are at point
I'd like
2
to
of this
also make
debate.
a
Yes.
point on land.
I just wanted to say very briefly that the only quote-unquote reform that has been accepted without bloodshed or war by the Muslims in India is the one that does not touch the edicts of the Holy Quran. Anything else that is there, perceived patriarchy, unequal inheritance, all those things that are there in Quran can never be touched. So please ask this lady whether she accepts the Shah Bano judgment, whether she is for equal
Come on.
inheritance.
Come
as
on,
is
yaar.
for
Come on.
against- Now listen to me. We are talking sensibly, talking about logical and rational. There is an edict in Quran that says that women are recipient of only half of the inheritance what the men are. Are you for it or are you against it? Will you condemn that?
That is
edict?
the
You won't.
yes, sir. That is the minimum stipulated by the Quran. But there is
You
no
will not
bar
condemn it.
on going
You
ahead
will
and
not
giving your
condemn it.
entire property to your daughters.
Will you
You know
condemn
what
it?
Quran stipulates is
condemn
the
it?
minimum. Is
Will
the,
you
is the
condemn
same
it?
as age
No,
of marriage.
I'm talking about the ayat. Now, please, this is the problem. You know, when you talk to be, appear to be frank, you are immediately branded as Islamophobic. I am quoting to you a verse that says, chapter and verse that says that the daughters can have only half the inheritance of the sons. I'm asking you, do you condemn it or not? Yes and no.
No verse. There is no verse saying that. There are verses which say
Right.
that daughters should have a rightful share in the
Okay.
property and the
Okay.
minimum
One
is
second.
stipulated. But there is no bar on going beyond the minimum.
Okay, no, there is no bar. That's the
Rahul.
problem. Who decides
Rahul.
if we should go beyond the minimum? And why would anyone want to go
Rahul,
beyond the
can I make a
women's minimum, especially if they are patriarchal? viewers?
Exactly.
That's the whole
Rahul.
problem. That's
That's
why you
what
need
I
reform.
say.
Because we
That's
cannot
what-
have in a secular country a law that takes its inspiration from a religious edict. It's very simple. You should have a UCC. It's very simple. But that, viewers, they say that it's against diversity.
Rahul,
So when
may
we
I come
bring in
for a
the
point, please?
when
I'd
we
like to
bring
just
in the
make one
CA
point.
that is to
Rahul.
protect diversity, they have a problem with
Rahul.
that. They oppose it. Anyhow, one second, Mr. Kohli, 1 second. I just want to quickly come in with Mr. Meka. This is the second part of this. Mr. Meka, minorities, Muslims in Kerala and Christians in Kerala also telling the Congress party to take a position in favor of the Waqf Amendment Bill. Will Priyanka Gandhi listen to them? Yes or no?
No. Okay, I'll tell you. So Congress party is not going to listen to or do any minority appeasement or majority appeasement. We do our politics differently. Okay, according to the constitution.
Oh, really?
Okay.
You
Okay.
do-
Yes.
No, hang on. So
Okay.
when you were
No,
giving
hang
out
on, hang
Hajj
on.
subsidies,
Hang on.
You were being, hang on. What principle were you applying? When you want to give 100% reservations to Muslims, what principle are you applying, sir?
What do you mean 100% reservations to Muslims?
You are
Who
giving,
is
you are
giving?
saying that you
Who
are
is
wanting
giving?
to give full
Don't
reservations
don't
to
peddle
the entire
lies.
community.
Don't peddle lies.
Of
Now,
course,
I'm
I'm not
asking,
peddling lies. Excuse me, Mr. Meka. These things have been
What do you
struck
mean
down.
100%
These things have been
reservations
struck
to
down
Muslims?
by the court. You can't give religious quotas.
Oh,
You know
what
this.
do you mean
Why are you
100%
promising
reservations
religious
for
quotas?
Muslims? Since you were asking Ms. Jakia about Teen Talaq law, I am asking you, Rahul, my friend,
Mr. Meka, did you not appeal? Did you not appeal? I ask you, did you not go up in appeal, Shah Bano? Yes or no?
No, 1 second.
No, I'm asking you, please answer this question. Yes or no? You say you don't believe in appeasement. What made you go out there and override Shah Bano?
That was.
Yes,
No,
what
wait,
was
wait,
that?
wait a minute.
What was
That was a wrong committed by Congress party. We are okay with that. We accept. It's okay.
No, but what do you, why did you do that wrong? Was it for any altruistic purpose? No, it was for a very immediate purpose, which was to push your
1 second.
agenda of minority appeasement,
that is
appeasing a certain spectrum. Come on, sir, please, let us know. We can't have a debate if you're going to completely contort history. Please, sir, let us respect at least this. You're making a sweeping. Okay, I'm asking you. So I'm asking you, the church in Kerala, Muslims in Kerala, several Muslims around the country, Boras, Aga Khanis are saying that please move for an amendment. What is your problem? This is in Muslim interest. Mr. Satchar.
Oh, no,
One second. Mr. Satchar is a person you appointed. I didn't appoint. The UP appointed, the Congress appointed.
I'm asking you a straight question.
I'm asking you, sir.
Tell me
Mr.
yes or
Satchar
no.
said inclusion of women in Central Waqf Council.
I want a law to ban parda. Are you with me, my friend, or not?
Yes, I am.
Let's do a
I am.
debate
I am,
tomorrow.
Mr. Meka.
Let's
I
do
am.
a
Will you
debate
support me
tomorrow.
when I say that we should bring a law to ban hijab? Yes or no?
I am with you.
Then why
Let's ban
did the
parda.
Karnataka government? No,
Let's
hang on.
have-
When the Karnataka government
have a
brought that
debate
issue,
tomorrow.
why did you protest
Are you
against
ready?
it?
Are you ready to do ban parda?
Of course.
Are you going
One
to
second. Why
speak
should
the
there be any
same
parda in our
emotion tomorrow
society?
also? Then why is it there?
No, 1 second. Yes.
Then why
one
is
second.
parda
One
there?
second. Mr. Meka, please.
In this
No one is
country.
doing parda anywhere. Maybe you are doing parda. I don't know.
Come on, don't tell me.
No, 1 second. Inclusion of women in the Central Waqf Council. Who said this? The Satchar committee argued for that, viewers. The bill does it. Greater transparency by involving non-Muslim experts in Waqf board management was also something that was talked about. Again, under the aegis of the Satchar committee, and at that time, viewers, when the Satchar committee submitted its report, it did to a JPC. That was the conversation. This bill does that. Now they have a problem.
holier than
They are
thou.
now going completely
Kind of
against what
mentality,
they
right?
themselves demanded of Satchar committee. Why do you think they're doing this? Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, very quick one, and I want to bring in Mr. Kohli, and we want to move on.
Rahul, I want
Yeah.
to make a point.
I didn't mean to be. I didn't mean to be patronizing, but it's embarrassing for me to recommend reading the Quran to Ms. Zakia. But here is verse 411, and it says the share of inheritance to a male will be twice that of female. 411. So I can lend you my copy of Quran, Holy Quran. Please
Yeah,
read
that
this.
is, Miss Soman, please, let us not tonight, let us not hair split like this. We all know the problem. You have taken positions. Today you are sounding a little, today you are sounding,
It's not helping me. It's not
I can read you verses as well.
okay, 1 second.
Please do.
Yes, Mr.
Let's
Nalin
read the
Kohli,
verses.
Mr. Nalin Kohli, a quick one. I don't know what we are talking about anymore. We've lost the thread of this debate. It's becoming absolutely
I want to come
asinine.
back to the bill.
Viewers, I have panelists here
I'm coming
who are
back to
trying
the
to
bill
tell
for a
me
minute.
that certain political parties have not put vote bank interests forward when they plumbed, for example, viewers, for obviously sectarian legislation. Were they doing it out of some great sense of compassion? No, viewers. And they are going back on it tonight. It's bizarre. Yes, Mr. Kohli, very quickly, I need to move on.
Yes, certainly. On the act, again, I want to come back to the district magistrate on which people are raising questions. We must bear in mind that in administration, the district magistrate is also the collector. Collector means the collector of the revenue, the highest person who collects revenue in the state. Revenue from where? From land. He is the one who's finally in a district in charge of all land records. And any disputes related to land also go to him. So therefore, who has the records? Ultimately, all land is recorded with
True.
in the register
I
of
think the
land
principle
records
applies
in the
here,
district.
viewers.
So
We
I mean,
need to move
after all, the
towards
land is in the
legislation.
district. So
No,
therefore,
true.
the
I
Waqf
don't
board
think-
cannot say that, you know, my land is going to be outside this.
Absolutely. I don't think you need to justify that point. I think that's the weakest argument. If you have a problem against a secular authority sitting over that tribunal, you are shooting yourself in the foot, viewers. That's basically what it is. It's very simple. I want to move on, viewers, tonight, because there is something dramatic that is about to happen, and within 24 hours, with just 1 day left for the Donald Trump administration tit-for-tat tariff to kick in, the US president announced on Tuesday that India is set to substantially reduce its tariffs, along with other US allies, ahead of the April 2 deadline for reciprocal tariffs, which he referred to as, quote, Liberation Day, unquote, in the US. Trump's remarks caused both the Sensex and Nifty to post strong losses. Investors lost about 3 lakh crore in a single session as the overall market cap of firms listed on the BSE dropped. One of the principal reasons for the slide is that Trump's decision to jack up reciprocal tariffs or taxes on goods will push up inflation in India as input costs rise. Increase in tariffs will also make India's exports less attractive in the US, leading to cuts in production if alternative markets are not found or India is not able to firm up a trade deal with the US at the earliest. Viewers, hardships at home will challenge or strain Indo-US ties, say some experts, while others are more optimistic. In fact, US Deputy Secretary of State has said he sees, quote, a golden age for India-US ties, unquote. The split in opinion prompts some big questions. Has India done the right thing by showing a willingness to substantially reduce, not my words, Trump's words, tariffs, or should it stand firm? How far can India yield on tariffs without damaging its own case? Let's open this up, viewers. Let's go straight across first to Brahma Chileni to get a perspective for him. Mr. Chileni, thank you very much for being with us this evening. A very simple question. Do you believe that India should show flexibility ahead of this particular decision, which will have big ramifications? Have we done the right thing by showing willingness to substantially reduce tariffs?
For India, the US relationship is the most critical bilateral relationship. So India has to show some flexibility, a willingness to cut a trade deal, and this is what India has done. But India is on the horns of a dilemma. Like the US has a large trade deficit with the world, India too has a large trade deficit with the world. The only important economy with which India has a trade surplus is the United States. In fact, India is an import-dependent economy. It's not an export-driven economy like other Asian economies.
Yeah.
India relies on domestic consumption for its economic growth. So this US pressure that the Trump administration is exerting compounds India's challenges, because slashing this $46 billion trade surplus with the US would involve painful decisions by India. But I think it's also important to keep in mind what Trump is seeking to do. He has, of course, at a larger level, upended international rules and the global system as he seeks to remake patterns of international trade and cooperation. But there's also a reason why Trump's approach to the world today is vividly different from the one he pursued in the first term. He and his administration are more nationalistic, more protectionist, and more clear-headed about what they seek to achieve in the second term. And tariffs are front and center on Trump's agenda as he seeks to revamp the global trading regime to America's advantage. And he's not the first American president to use tariffs as a weapon against trading partners. His predecessors, including Biden, also employed.
So what you're saying, Professor Chileni, correct me if I'm wrong, is that for now, showing a bit of flexibility, a certain desire to give and take in the present is not a bad strategy. As we go forward, perhaps we can strike a better bargain with the United States. We're already in advanced trade talks. That's what we are being told. But just let me open this up. Mr. Amirullah, who's an economist, is also here with us. Mr. Amirullah, do you believe that we could have maybe put up more of a fight? Mr. Cheney says we've been a bit pragmatic, that's good. Where do you stand on this?
Rahul, this is the basic science of negotiation, that you do not show, that you do not go on the back foot before you start negotiating. So I think we have ceded ground by appearing to be malleable and by appearing to be ready to take 2 steps back. See, what's happening with India's foreign policy is that we are on almost every front, we are projecting an image that we are okay to be pushed. China does that to us, Russia does that to us, our stance on Ukraine or on Gaza has been iffy. And therefore, what is happening right now is just before a bilateral deal is going to get negotiated, by showing that we are ready for concessions, we will not have the tough negotiating stance that we need to do. We should be assertive. We are a very big importing nation as far as the US is concerned. The US is, has a large amount of export to India. And therefore, we needed to be on the front foot on this. We have ceded ground. However, it's right, as Professor Chelani also says, as you've also said, that yes, we need to be a little careful because the US is the big trading partner as far as we are concerned, the biggest trading partner, and we cannot afford to be appearing unreasonable.
Okay, Ajay Bagga, let me come to you. How far can India yield on tariffs without damaging its own case? I think people do forget that any tax war that Trump launches will have an effect and a ripple effect domestically for him also. So he's also constrained. He can't just go full tilt. Am I right, Mr. Bagga?
Yeah, Rahul, in the first term, he was more concerned about the stock market and the economy. This time around, his Secretary of Treasury was very clear that we are detoxing. We are detoxing the 60% of the corporate profits in America are now based on government expenditure. So they are cutting down government expenditure. It's a full plan. And tariffs, what are his objectives? One, he's trying to balance in the way that they were spending on defense for the rest of the world. They are cutting that down. On the trade, US has average tariffs of 2%, Europe has 5%, China has 10%, India has 10%. He's trying to balance those terms of trade. Third, he's trying to reindustrialize. Fourth, the biggest part of all this is geostrategic. It's to remove US from the Chinese supply lines. One very interesting statistic, Rahul, which not too many people are understanding, but Trump has caught it fully. The Chinese trade deficit with the US has not increased from 2019 to now. But the Chinese trade deficit with the global south has gone up to $500 billion. What is that meaning? There is transshipment of Chinese goods where, say, a made in Vietnam, made in Mexico, made in Canada is put on it and it's coming into the US. So he's trying to catch all that. We have done a very wise decision by choosing to negotiate. There is no other option out. When you have somebody like Trump on the other side, we can say it is 2% of our GDP, 18% of our exports. What have we got to lose? We've got a lot to lose. And we have services. We have $200 billion of services going into the US. So we cannot disengage. We have to engage with him. And what Mexico has done, India has done, UK has done, has been more mature, where they are negotiating rather than announcing retaliatory tariffs. That will not really work. We cannot open agriculture, for example, because US is 100% subsidy. And they are like corporate agriculture, the quality and the pricing they can bring into India, that will finish us. Japan, for example, Rahul, has 700% duty on US rice, 700%. Even a high-cost producer like Japan, where there are not enough agriculture workers left, put duty on agriculture. Agriculture, India will not bend, but what we are hearing from media, I'm not privy to anything, 55% of the basket we will allow US to come in. Now, things like automobiles, In the short term, it hurts us, but we are being sold lemons as automobiles. We are being sold 5 generation back automobiles at very prohibitive costs. It is good to open that sector like our two-wheeler sector got opened, and look at the R&D, look at how strong that sector has become. So things like that have to be looked at, Rahul. No easy answer. I hope I gave some answers.
Well, look, you painted a white canvas, so that's great. People get a bit of a sense of what to anticipate. Viewers, tonight we have given you a flavor of the various strands of thought. It's a straw poll of sorts. We've had Professor Chileni, we've had Mr. Ullah, we've also had, of course, Mr. Bagga. All of them are here. We will pick up the thread of this conversation, viewers, in the next 24 hours. Perhaps tomorrow, when we have a clearer idea of exactly what Trump is going to do. Will he make exemptions for India? Even the slightest exemptions can help, because it would have shown that he has been reasonable on the back of some pragmatic diplomacy. If he doesn't, viewers, India will also know where it stands and what it needs to do next. So the next 24 hours, vital. The Sensex, the markets today a little edgy and nervy. India Inc., edgy and nervy. It's also, of course, earnings results season, so there can be more volatility. We'll have to keep a very close watch on what Washington, D.C. does. I leave it to this, viewers. 24 hours, we'll have some answers. Vantage with Palki Sharma. Don't go away.
Presented by
双方特战队员在混合编组乘机实滑过程中，最大的困难就是语言上的障碍。我们在训练开始之前就与泰方官兵建立战术手势上的交流，手势上的利用有效地提高了双方战术上的交流和协同作战能力。
通过作战背景设置、方案制定、技战术交流、图上推演、预先训练、装设备精细检查等前期工作，中泰联合兵力高标准完成了海上联合训练。在战术技术上，双方参训兵力深度融合，指挥能力得到提升，作战体系得到检验，为实战化应急处置及维护海上安全积累了经验。